YouTube, vinyl community, Dennis Wilson fans, random people on the internet, my name is Giggens, and we are here today to talk about Denny Wilson's unreleased second album, Bambu, which would have been released on Caribou Records. Actually, it kind of was in 2017 as a Record Store Day exclusive. Now, this was an album that he was working on kind of around the same time as Pacific Ocean Blue, his first official album that came out, first and only album that came out. When he would work on this, it was a way to like step away from Pacific Ocean Blue because that album was like really heavy and really dense, and I think it probably took a lot out of him, even though it was a labor of love. And he would kind of like skirt away and do this as like a side gig to kind of clear his head and just kind of try to reevaluate his process. Demos have circulated for years, and the first official release of this thing was as a second disc on Pacific Ocean Blue on CD in 2008. And that was my first exposure to it. It was back when that thing came out, and Pacific Ocean Blue was the first time I ever heard it, was when that CD came out. Now, this thing, the fact that I found this, I never thought I was going to find this thing because the record stores around me don't carry this kind of stuff, and I don't do a whole lot of buying records online. I came across it at a store in Pennsylvania, and I was like blown away that this existed. I was just sitting on the shelf, and I was like, holy moly, all right, this is coming home with me. So I grabbed it, and in re-listening to it over and over again, it blows me away how talented this guy was, how misunderstood this guy was, and the demons that he was fighting at this time in his life. I mean, Pacific Ocean Blue came out and it got critically acclaimed. It was, lauded as a fantastic album, and at this point, currently people call it a masterpiece. When it came out, it didn't sell that well, but it was something that Denny really put his heart and soul into, and he didn't care if I had a hit on it. He just wanted to put his heart and soul onto tape and say, hey, this is where I'm at right now. This is what I sound like. What do you think? He wasn't in it for a commercial appeal. He wasn't in it to, make a ton of money off a hit single or something. That wasn't his gig. He was just here to be like, I'm a soulful guy. Here's what's going on. He never got to see the release of this thing, and it was never finished. So there are parts of this album that you definitely can tell sound unfinished. Some songs sound like a bit of like a sketch. Some are just instrumental, some are just piano pieces. But it makes for a really fascinating listen to see where his head was at this time. I mean, at this time, his second marriage to Karen was falling apart. The inner turmoil with the Beach Boys was on fire. Like 77 through 79 in the Beach Boys camp was just like an unfun time for these guys with drugs, separation of the guys into two different camps. Nothing was working out. Also, during the recording of this album, Brother Studios got sold. And this was like his home base where he can just like set up shop and make his album and, do what he had to do over there. And all of a sudden it was gone. So most of this was recorded at Brother Studios, but a lot of it was recorded at Sounds Good Recording, Criteria, and Caribou Ranch. So it's kind of split up all over the place, which, kind of made these sessions a little bit erratic. He was also starting to date Christine McVie at this time, and I think burned down her pool house at one point or something. And then, in a way to make it up to her, had a bed of flowers planted on her property in the shape of a heart, but then billed her. So I mean, it's from everything I've read about, and I've tried watching as many interviews as I could in preparation to make this video, and stuff I knew just from books over the years that I've had. He had a big heart. He really did. Never knew him, obviously, but everything I've read about him, it has shown he was a soulful dude, had a big heart, and he was just fighting a lot of problems. Most of it due to drugs and alcohol, which it's unfortunate that, some of the most creative people get hit by that, and leads them down a terrible path. But anyway, let's jump into it. So this album, this is the 2017 Record Store Day issue of this thing. I think the packaging, number one, is absolutely beautiful. They did a fantastic job. Obviously there was no preparation for a promotion for this thing because it was never finished, and it was he passed away before it ever came out, and he was years away, removed at it from that point by the time he passed away. when he was done with Pacific Ocean Blue, he was like totally head first into Bambu, and completely like not even thinking about Pacific Ocean Blue anymore. Like the next project he was in, that was it. This album was originally called Tornado, which I did not know. And they settled on Bambu because it sounded exotic and it reminded him of drums, and because it was a brand of rolling paper. So there you go. Really, really nice shot on the inside. Love that. And the record itself is housed in these really, really nice sleeves with lots of liner notes, a couple of good pictures, details about everybody that played on this damn thing, and it's on fantastic green bamboo colored vinyl. So packaging on this thing was done very, very lovingly and carefully. Could not be happier with the way this thing looks. So the first track, Under the Moonlight, this is an awesome song. It's got a really cool old school 50s rock beat to it, and his voice is really smooth and really cool. And I love when he calls out the title, when he says Under the Moonlight, there's this like descending rhythm. It's very fun and very memorable and makes you want to sing along to it. And right off the bat, you get the feeling that this album is a little lighter, and I hate to use the word accessible, but compared to Pacific Ocean Blue, this album is a lot more accessible because it's not so heavy. There are times where there's heaviness, especially in his voice, and especially with some of the piano playing, some of the lumbering rhythms that happen in this thing that really evoke a soulful experience. But for the most part, it's a lot lighter. And there's a little bit more sunshine on this album, whereas Pacific Ocean Blue, I mean, there's a lot of funky moments on that too, but there's some really heavy songs on that thing, to the point where sometimes it's a little hard to listen to because he was so powerful with his performances. I mean, there's nothing fake about this guy. Everything he is, he's putting onto tape. And you're hearing it and you're like, holy moly, this guy's just like pouring his soul out. They were some talented guys, those Wilson brothers. The next song on here, It's Not Too Late. Unbelievable song. Easily one of the best songs that he ever did, ever sung on, ever had a part with making. You know, his voice is tender in moments, but then extremely raw and very powerful in a gruff, sort of coarse way, where at this point that's what his voice was kind of like. There's rumors that he was in a bar fight in the mid-70s and someone like punched him in the throat and that hurt his voice. Could also have been the drugs and alcohol he was doing. That does have an effect on people too. But it makes for a really interesting listen. And then midway through the song, Carl comes in, and you're just like, oh man, whoa dude, slow down, I can only take so much. It's like, I mean, what can you say? I mean, someone once famously said Carl could sing the phone book and make it sound amazing, and that's completely true. But when he does his Carl thing in a soulful way, it just blows you away. And they get the two of them on here, and apparently at the time, you know, I guess they weren't either seeing a whole lot of each other, or they were both upset about the Beach Boys having problems, or they just acknowledged that Dennis's life wasn't going the way it was supposed to go, or it just wasn't as happy as he wanted it to be. And so they were both really emotional about being together and doing this song together. And in that case, you know, you hear Carl doing the, no, 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 it's not too late. Like, you're like, oh man, I believe everything this guy's saying. And then Dennis is in the background doing his wailing thing, and it's like, it's heavy, man. It's heavy. But it's one of those special moments where when you hear Carl's voice, it just grabs at you, you know? For a lot of you guys watching this videos are obviously Beach Boys fans. And a lot of people that follow my channel are Beach Boys fans. So you know what it's like when you hear Carl's voice. It takes you somewhere. It does something to you. It's beautiful. It's one of the best words you can use to describe his voice is beautiful. And to hear him mixed in with Denny on this is just a fantastic combination, and I'm glad it's there. I'm glad this song exists. An instant classic. I mean, could you imagine this song on a Beach Boys album? Can you imagine this on, like, MIU? Or even Love You? I mean, like, whoa. Whoa. The next track, Schoolgirl. This was written after Dennis and a buddy were driving by Hollywood High. And they saw a bunch of high school chicks, and they decided to write a song about it. So, kind of little little on the ear side, but you know, I guess that's rock and roll for you. So, next track, Love Remember Me. Rougher vocal on this one, but there's just a beautiful soulful melody throughout this whole thing. And when the drums kick in and the whole "Love Keeps Tumbling Down" line happens, I mean, damn, damn, powerful stuff. Love Surrounds Me starts off side 2 of this thing. Most famously known for being on the Beach Boys' LA album, the Light album. I can't tell much of a difference between the two versions. I mean, there's some differences, but not a whole lot. For the most part, it's the same song, and it's a great song at that. I think it's got a cool, chill, kind of a lazy beat, and his vocal is really subdued but still emotional. Wild Situation. This is a real groove. You know, really excellent background vocals throughout this entire thing. And for something like this, I'd call it like beautiful sludge rock. It's rock, it's soul, it's pretty, but it's walking through molasses. And it's such an amazing combination because so often if you hear a song that just sludges along, you're like, oh my god, get over it. But with this, you're like, yeah, I can get into that real slow groove, like you're walking through quicksand. Like it's just a feel, man. Love it. Common. This song is great. It's an instrumental. It's just an instrumental. But when those drums kick in, you're like, man, a underrated drummer. Dennis Wilson was one of the best rock drummers in the world, hands down. His feeling and his caveman-like groove. Some of the best drums out there. Who knows if there were words to this song at some point? It'd be cool to find out if there were. I couldn't find anything in my journeys through the internets and my books. I would love to see if there were words at some point. But just like I know that there are words for "Let's Go Away for a While" and "Pet Sounds." Be cool to see that. Are You Real? This is like a really big anthemic rocker. Totally ready for like FM radio and big stadiums. If you can imagine like in the early 80s when big arena rock was happening, you can just imagine this song going out to 20,000 people. It's got that feel. It's got that arena rock feel. Really haunting, really deep, and real. He's a bum. Dennis wrote this song after a girl said he looked like a bum because he had long hair and a beard and rips in his jeans, and he thought that was funny. So he kind of went along with the joke and wrote a good song about it, showing off his sense of humor. Cocktails is a really dramatic song, and it's a little like over the top, but in a soulful way because his voice can break your heart. The vibe I got on this song was I instantly thought of Frank Sinatra, who you can see right down there. I can't point backwards here. Right there, right there, right there. His album Only the Lonely. I put that out because I can see Frank doing this song, like in the 50s. Obviously, it wouldn't be as soulful and as gruff and as powerful, but especially on an album like Only the Lonely, I can see that working really well in his style. I can see Frank doing that vocal approach because that album is, I think, one of Frank's best, and his voice on that album is so tender and broken. Very good album, but I can see him doing a song like Cocktails on that album. Yeah, I think that covers that. The song I Love You. When it starts off, I'm getting a little bit of that Aretha Franklin, I never loved a man the way that I loved you kind of vibe. But then it kind of breaks up into its own thing, and it kind of ends with this like meandering, wandering, lost piano noodling. That kind of gives it the feeling that maybe it wasn't super finished, or maybe it was meant to sound like that. Maybe it was kind of meant to just disappear to nothingness. Makes for an interesting track. The vocal chorus in the middle is very nice. His use of group harmonies on this record and on Pacific Ocean Blue are fantastic. Constant Companion, I love this song. It almost opens with a Marrakesh Express vibe in the beginning. It kind of has that feel. But then it becomes one funky groove that's totally meant for Dennis. Such a fun, cool song. I like the way he gets into the rhythm of it. Constant Companion. I can't sing, but you get the idea. Cool song. Time for Bed has this like big New Orleans ragtime jazz feel. with a super upbeat rock current happening underneath it. And it's a song about substances. So that's sad. Album tag song. This song for me, who knows if that was even the actual name of this thing. This feels like a demo to me big time. For the most part, it's just Dennis with the piano, and then there's a groove that kicks in afterwards with that feel going on underneath it. I would like to hear more of that and where that was going. All Alone, this was previously released, I think, on that Summer Love Song CD that the Beach Boys put out in 2009, I think. I could just go run over there and check, but I'm sitting down right now, and so are you, so I'm not going to do that. I think it's on that CD, but that's a great song. And again, that could have been on the Light album too. I could easily see that fitting on there with no problem. The last song on this thing, piano variations on Thoughts of You, the song from Pacific Ocean Blue. It's just really beautiful, quiet piano noodling, and I guess the reason this was put on was to make it kind of come full circle, because most of Pacific Ocean Blue was done piano first with Dennis just there coming up with these songs, and they thought it'd be a nice ending for this album to have the same sort of feel. And I totally get that. The way it does disappear and fade out is haunting and sad, because I feel like that happens. I feel like that was chosen for a lot of reasons. It could be a combination of trying to tie in with his first album. It could be a combination of maybe how he passed away, because, drowning, I mean, I can only imagine it's either horrible or it's either happens so quick, and then it just fades away, as any type of death would. So, in a way, maybe that was chosen for a couple of reasons, but really poignant ending to this album. This album, Bambu, really is something to be treasured. Dennis Wilson, I think, is, like, as I said before, I think severely underrated, both as a drummer, but also as a songwriter. And his credits in the Beach Boys catalog, I think, need to be looked at and revered just as important as anything Brian did. Especially his stuff on Sunflower, on, I almost said Surf's Up, but he chose not to be on that one. Only With You is a fantastic song. Cuddle Up is a fantastic song. And then his stuff on Friends when he was just getting going, like Little Bird, Be Still. I mean, his songwriting was so beautiful and so important. And when he came into his own and took off with it, it just kept flourishing from there to the point where he was able to do his own album and then start a second one. And it's a true shame that he never got to see this thing released. But, we have it now, and we can appreciate it now for what it is, and imagine, what it could have been. I mean, for the most part, most of this sounds finished to me. Maybe there's a couple of bits and pieces here and there that aren't finished, but, I mean, look at Smile. There was no ending to that thing. You kind of get an ending with this. It's probably not what he intended, but it feels like a coherent piece, and the sequencing on this thing was fantastic. I think it flows very well. So the team behind this thing did an excellent job, and really the packaging is absolutely fantastic. So yeah, for me, I'd probably give this thing a 9 out of 10. I would give it a 10 out of 10, only it wasn't finished, so it's really rough to grade something that wasn't finished. So you're kind of judging, someone who's made half a shirt. It looks really good, but it's not done yet. You can't wear it. So I don't know, 9 or a 10. I'm a big fan of his music. I absolutely love his music. And I think I'll end there. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Have you heard this? Have you been able to find it on vinyl? I'd love to see a CD release of it at some point, but having it on record is fantastic. So it comes with a download code. So if you didn't have the Pacific Ocean Blue CD, you can get the download code with this thing and get the exact same tracks. I think they're the same mastering too. I don't think anything was changed on it. I did a pretty close listen, and they sound almost identical. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on Bambu and Pacific Ocean Blue. I'll do a review of that at some point too. But I really wanted to jump in with this because I felt like this was a great album that never happened. So My name is Giggens. This has been Album Reviews with Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys. His unreleased album, Bambu. Who knows when it would have been released? He was working on it from 1976 to 78. So, could have been released in 78 or 79, but unfortunately never did. We had to wait until 2008 for an official release, and then 2017 for a vinyl release. So, you know, it's been 40 years since Pacific Ocean Blue came out, if you're watching this in 2017, that is. And both albums, I think, are absolutely fantastic. So, my name is Giggens. This has been Bambu, and thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video.